Imam Anas, I'm kind of curious. I'm going to sort of somewhat play devil's advocate here too in some of my questions. But you talk about Islam, which we know and understand when it's literally sort of translated means submission. But a lot of people also then take that, in a sense, the next step, that because you're submitting, it's essentially, it's very fatalistic, and thus also a very lifeless tradition, because there's no sort of thinking. You're sort of stuck to a particular tradition. And I'm just curious, how do you respond to that type of critique of Islam?
Very good question, I think. And I think that's at two levels. One is when we say fatalistic, it could mean from a perspective of the fact that God decreed everything and that we don't have any choices, we cannot make decisions. And this is absolutely wrong. I think throughout history, not just in Islam, I think in any religion, we've had two basically extreme groups. On one hand, you have people who think that everything is dictated by God and we don't have any will. We don't have any will on our own. We cannot make our own decisions. And on the other hand, you have people who say that, well, we dictate everything. I dictate my future. I can determine what's going to happen to me, and God has nothing to do with it. And I think Islam, at least, I can only speak for Islam, it's somewhere in between, where we say that God, no doubt, has power. One of the qualities of God is qudra in Arabic, which means the ability. So no doubt, he can control events, but at the same time, we do have the power to decide. And if we did not, then God would not punish us or reward us in the hereafter. Because if you're totally controlled by God, then it will be unjust from him to judge you on the day of judgment. He would not reckon you, he would not judge you. So no doubt, the human has a will, and that will is not totally inseparable from the will of God, because the will of God is dominant, but no doubt the human, the individual, has a will on his own, and he does make decisions, and based on those decisions, you'll be judged on the day of judgment. Likewise, when it comes to orders, like if he commanded me or ordered me to do something, it does not mean that I'm stuck, simply because these commands, if we look at them, they're very small, very little in number. They're not many. Even in the Quran, if you look in the Quran, only 1/3 of the Quran talks about law at most. The rest is stories and theology. So yeah, we have a set of laws, but they are very minimal. And if you look at all the new events and all the, what's happening on a human level, you see that new things are happening every day. And those don't necessarily have a law that addresses them. This is where the job of a Muslim scholar comes in, because he's going to look at the sources, and based on his own intellect, on his background, he's going to come up with a law, but that law is not divine. It is an opinion. It is an informed opinion, but still it is an opinion, and it is not necessarily binding on other people. There's something that a lot of people don't know. They think if a scholar passed a fatwa, which is a religious verdict, they think that it is binding upon people. It is not binding. It's up to you if you want to take it or not. If you're convinced, you can take it and apply it. If you're not convinced, you're welcome to go and look for another scholar who might have a different deduction from the same text. So there's a lot of room. Don't be so scared.